Welcome back to our channel. Welcome to session 4, and this is actually a part 1 of session 4. So there'll be 2 parts to this, and we are going to be discussing recognizing dating abuse. Here's a brief overview of the learning objectives for part 1. I'm going to go over how to recognize dating abuse with you guys. What are the signs? And the next thing we'll do is talk about the harmful effects that this can happen to for the victim and for the abuser. There's a recognizing abuse activity, and we're going to be recognizing the way abusers control through another activity. Let's discuss recognizing dating abuse. Dating abuse can be physical, psychological, sexual, or a combination of these. Physical abuse is pretty easy to see, to interpret, to understand that there are bruises being left, there are pinches or slaps or throws or hits, those types of things. So today we'll mostly focus on psychological abuse, and sexual we'll focus on later down the road in other sessions. So psychological or sexual abuse that's perpetrated through the use of technology is called digital dating abuse or cyber dating abuse. Some kinds may be hard to recognize, especially psychological abuse, but all kinds of abuse can lead to harmful effects for teens and their families. This activity helps caregivers and teens recognizing dating abuse and its harmful effects, those that are clear immediately and those who don't appear until later on. It also gives caregivers and teens a chance to plan for what to do if dating abuse happens. So, what does the activity will come in a minute, but what does psychological abuse look like? This can look like calling a dating partner names, criticizing a dating partner's opinions, ignoring their feelings, isolating them from others, behaving jealously, telling lies, scaring a dating partner, for example, by recklessly driving, something like that, demanding passwords to their phone or social media accounts, trying to make their partner feel guilty, spreading rumors about them, threatening to hurt oneself, using sexually offensive names, making unwanted sexual advances, pressuring dating partners to send nude photos of themselves, criticizing their beliefs about sex, putting down their friends and family or treating them disrespectfully, humiliating a dating partner either publicly or privately, insulting a dating partner's beliefs or values, displaying inappropriate anger, over-controlling, manipulating, expecting immediate responses to calls, texts, or other messages, and making dating partners feel bad about themselves. This, by all means, is not an extensive list, but it is a pretty long list, and hopefully this helps you recognize psychological abuse. Now that we know how to recognize psychological abuse or possible sexual or digital abuse or physical abuse, let's talk about the harmful effects for the victims and for the abusers. So their potential harmful effects for the abuser might be getting arrested, they're unable to attend college due to a criminal record, spend time in jail. Those are pretty extreme examples, but if you decide to press charges after there was an assault or something like that, that could definitely happen. They could also experience feelings of shame and guilt, feel isolated from family and friends, face inability to maintain long-lasting or fulfilling relationships, contract a sexually transmitted infection, experience an unwanted pregnancy, build up large doctor or lawyer expenses. They might feel like they need to abandon their dreams or goals. They could become depressed, anxious, fearful, or suicidal. They might begin having problems at work, school, or other activities. They could potentially lose a dating partner's love and respect. They could have conflict with their parents or other caregivers. The dating partner could end the relationship with them. So these are all harmful effects for the abuser. So let's talk about potential harmful effects for the victim of dating abuse. They might lose confidence in themselves, become afraid to express feelings of anger. They might suffer serious injury, even death. That's an extreme example as well, but it does happen. They might begin to doubt their own abilities, feelings, and decision-making ability, feel isolation from family and friends, feel shame, guilt, and loneliness. They could face the inability to maintain long-lasting or fulfilling relationships. They might get a sexually transmitted infection. They could experience an unwanted pregnancy, build up large doctor or lawyer expenses. They also might feel like they need to abandon their dreams or goals. They could also become depressed, anxious, fearful, or suicidal. They might begin having problems at work, school, or other activities, and they could potentially experience damage to personal property or to themselves. So some of these are a little bit similar to each other, but I just want you guys to know and remember that no one is excluded from the effects of dating abuse, even caregivers, the teens who are involved, the victim, and the abuser. After hearing all these examples, I want you guys to do a few activities. It's going to pop up on the screen. You're going to read a paragraph of a scenario, and there are 3 questions below that I would like for you to discuss with each other. I will come back on about after 10 seconds, so please pause the video, talk about it, and then I will come back on with some main key points. Hopefully you paused the video enough to give yourself time to read this and to discuss the questions. So here are the story points. Jen is being psychologically abusive to Nicole. He is treating her disrespectfully. He ignored her feelings, called her a name, don't be a baby, humiliated her in front of others, didn't respect her request to leave the park, and got her to do something she did not want to do. If Nicole continues to date Jen, she might lose confidence and start feeling bad about herself. She might become afraid of expressing her feelings to Jen and get into trouble for doing things she shouldn't be doing, like drinking beer. Jen could lose Nicole's respect and love. Nicole tried to use some of the safe skills that we talked about earlier. She told Jen how she felt, but Jen ignored her feelings and her request to leave. In this case, Nicole should trust her feelings and leave the situation. Later, Nicole should tell Jen privately that she doesn't appreciate feeling pressured to drink and being put down in front of his friends. If Jen continues to ignore her feelings and treat her disrespectfully, she should stop dating him. Hopefully you gave yourself enough time to read the texting at night scenario and to go through the discussion questions. Here are the story points for this scenario. Anyone, regardless of gender, can abuse their dates. Taylor is being abusive by ignoring Jake's feelings, encouraging him to do something he feels uncomfortable, making him feel guilty and bad about not being allowed to text late at night, getting angry about something beyond his control, and being over-controlling and manipulative. Wanting to spend time talking with a boyfriend or girlfriend is a normal part of dating, but teens have responsibilities to families, school, and work that sometimes limit how much time they can spend with a dating partner. If the relationship continues, Taylor may start controlling and manipulating other parts of Jake's life, such as interfering with activities with his friends and family. He could lose friendships and get into arguments at home. If this continues, Taylor could lose Jake and become unable to maintain long-lasting and fulfilling relationships. Jake should request that Taylor respect his family's rule of no messaging after 10 p.m. Jake could suggest they meet up in person more often at times that work for both of them. If Taylor doesn't agree, Jake should consider just being friends and ending their relationship. The breakup was our final scenario. Hopefully, you were able to answer the questions. Here are the story points for the breakup. Not all upsetting behaviors and conflicts are abusive. Teens may have difficult and painful experiences while dating, but they're not necessarily abusive. Misunderstanding and thoughtlessness may make someone feel bad, but conflict can be resolved in a way that allows both people to express themselves. A breakup may be upsetting, but it's not necessarily abusive. This next activity will be very similar to the previous one. I will show you who we are talking about in the scenarios, and then you will pause, discuss, and then it will go to the next screen, and you'll see where there is check mark boxes to consider what control methods someone is using in the scenario. This list right here will be a part of the control methods that you will be discussing with your teen. I would like for you to read through these control methods, and then you will see where the checkbox part is of the activity that are going to be the same thing. So pause this video for a second and we'll come back to the activity. I'm going to let this play for about 10 seconds, so I would like for you to pause it to read about the yearbook committee scenario, and then the next slide will be the controlling methods, and that will pause for about 10 seconds, so hopefully you can get to that pause button, read through them, and decide which ones apply. You should have paused to talk about this slide with your teen. Here are the main story points for the yearbook committee. This scenario is about jealousy. Malia may love DeAndre, but controlling someone does not show love. Malia was controlling DeAndre by telling him she would hurt herself if he left, and by suggesting that she could not make it on her own without DeAndre. When people like each other a lot, it is normal to feel jealous sometimes. It is not wrong or unusual to feel jealous, but limiting the person that a dating partner can talk to is psychologically abusive. Having a dating partner who is jealous that is so jealous they do not want you to talk to others may seem flattering at first, but is actually a way of manipulating and controlling you. If a relationship like this continues, the victim might become isolated from his friends and family. This is a really important point. If you feel like hurting yourself or someone else, or a friend tells you that they feel that way, talk to a teacher, counselor, or parent right away. You can also call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Go ahead and pause for this next scenario of the pizza party. At the top, this says the friend's birthday control methods. I would like for you all to just envision that it says the pizza party control methods, and then pause this video and discuss what control methods are being used. Here are the pizza party story points. Sometimes abusive partners justify their behaviors with the beliefs about how men or women should act, such as men should make the important decisions or women shouldn't speak up. But we harm people when we expect them to act certain ways just because of their gender. Shouldn't people be allowed to be who they really are? Aiden justified his abuse by saying Sarah wasn't acting the way that women are supposed to, and that he was actually helping her by teaching her. He also tried to make Sarah feel bad about herself, so that way she would become dependent on him. Up next, we'll have part 2 of this session and more about recognizing dating abuse and recognizing healthy traits within a relationship.